Everyone. Welcome to the August 20th special meeting of the Rochester Planning Commission. And I'll ask the clerk, first of all, to call the roll.
Yes, Chairman McGee.
Here.
Vice Chairman Lord is excused. Mayor Bixon.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem and Secretary Bavacqua.
Here.
Commissioner Clark Martin.
Here.
Commissioner Gosson is excused. Commissioner Hauser is excused. Commissioner King.
Not there.
Patty, you just need to say hi.
No, that's not Patty. That's Sarah King.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She's not here.
She's not here.
Okay.
Commissioner Stone.
There, he's there. Yeah.
He's on
Pat,
mute.
you're on.
You're on mute.
There you go.
Just
There he is. I'm at. So, clerk, do we have a quorum?
We have a quorum.
Okay, very good. Very good. Let me just put in at this moment for the members of the public who are watching, this is a virtual meeting, continuing this trend, virtual meeting of the Rochester Planning Commission. We're doing this on the basis of an executive order by the governor that was issued back in March relative to trying to prevent the spread of COVID, as you know. Just to remind the public, though, the action taken by the Planning Commission at the meeting counts. It actually permits us to keep things moving forward, even though we're separate from actually meeting in the room. There's a number available online. You can see it on your television screen. And I would advise you, if you have any questions or any kind of input for us, please don't hesitate to call. I'd point out that at our last meeting, we probably had 8 or 10 people, I'm guessing off the top of my head, who called, and the technology worked really well. We didn't see them visually, but they made significant contribution to the meeting. So if you're with us tonight, don't hesitate to call that number, and our technical people will put you right through, and you'll be speaking directly and live with us. At this point, please join me with for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
I think that's
Very
Matt's
much.
connection. Yeah.
Yeah.
Little fuzzy here and there. Everyone check your mics, check your mic. I'm chuckling because the other night our esteemed governor made an error. She made a great speech, but she also did a hot mic moment just to remind everybody you never know when that thing is turned on. So
All right.
be careful, be careful. Public comment. Anyone, Sienna, online or in writing that has any public comment for us?
Nope.
Nothing tonight. Okay, thank you very much.
Mhm.
The next item, number 4, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of August 3rd, 2020. This is a fairly lengthy set of minutes. I want to compliment our clerk, Maureen. You really do a great job. I don't know how you are able to capture so much and get it down in writing, but these are terrific, and I just want to compliment you on the great job you do for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, commissioners, have you had the opportunity to review these minutes? And I don't know who we're hearing. I think we have kinder care on the line. I'm hearing little kids. Anyone want to make a motion to approve these minutes? Matt, you spoke, you didn't come through. Try it again, Matt. We can't understand you. The video is great, but you've got some interference. Maybe shut your microphone off and turn it back on again.
I saw what he mouthed, though, was he made a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, thank you. Was there support for that?
I have a question.
there was a revision to the minutes that was put out. I wanted to make sure that that is the minutes that we're approving, the revised minutes.
I didn't get any revision. What are we talking about here?
Anyone
Maybe
else want
Dean
to
can-
handle this, or you want me to do it?
Well, Maureen, first to
Yeah.
you.
Dean, Blaine mailed it out later in the day today. It was for the motion for Riverfront Place. And
I didn't see it. Sorry. I just
Oh.
didn't get that.
Maybe
Yeah.
Maureen, you could read it, the change. Do you have
Yeah,
it with
and
you?
then Sienna, maybe throw it up on the screen, just the,
I don't
Yeah,
have
there
it.
you go.
Sorry.
No, that's the better way. Here we go.
maybe zoom in on it a little bit.
I am working on 2 screens. Give me 2 seconds. Sorry. Can you all see this?
Oop, now you need to go up,
Yeah.
down. Yeah. Sienna, go ahead and read it if you will.
So the change was in the motion, it stated that Christian Hauser, seconded by Sarah King, to approve the site plan and recommended to City Council approval for the special project for the Riverfront Place Apartments located at Walnut and First Street, subject to execution of a development agreement being entered into between the developer and the city that lists specific criteria dealing with the time frame for commencement and completion. The posting of a performance bond in an amount equal to the cost to perform the, I think the change was she deleted specified work to replace that with work in question, adding a sidewalk on the north side of the circulation drive on the south side of the building, and adding benches and redistributing the trash receptacles at the pocket park. So the change was the specified work phrase changed to work in question.
Maureen, you're the only one who can tell us. Is that what was said? I don't remember.
Yes, I listened again to the tape and that's what was said.
Okay, good. I'm happy with that.
Mhm.
So, Matt, you made a motion, and is there support?
Dennis, I got a comment, if that's all right.
Yes. Yeah.
So I just wanted to kind of clarify and revisit what I think the intent of the motion was, which was for the motion to be contingent upon the posting of a performance bond and the amount equal to the cost to perform the work in question, being the full site plan, all phases. If before we approve this, if anybody has concern with what that intent is, as written, I'd like to hear from them.
I just want to make sure it matches what the motion maker and the supporter said, and that's why I asked Maureen to give us concurrence that this change reflects what was actually said by those two.
Right. Well,
I didn't want there to be any confusion.
And if the clerk has verified that this is correct, I'm fine with it.
well, the words, the full site plan in all phases weren't in the motion, but I'd be happy to add it if you feel that it should be.
Well,
That's what was said.
unfortunately, Christian Hauser's not here, but before asking for this change to be made to express what he said, I did have a discussion with him, and he said that the intent was that it was for the full work in the site plan, the work in question. So he felt like it was pretty obvious that the work in question was all work within the site plan that was being presented to the Planning Commission. I just want to make sure that moving forward, the administration understands that that is a requirement of the motion.
Any other discussion on that?
Could I just add, Mr. Chairman, could I ask Attorney Crott?
Yes,
So
please.
is it legal to ask for a $40 million bond?
Well, that's a great question. That's what's gonna. Well, first of all, could everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Let me get my video on here. So, generally a performance bond in a private contract situation would be to perform the work. Frequently a performance bond or a bond that's posted in a municipal project would be it could go two ways. One is to finish the project. The problem is the city generally wouldn't get into finishing the project, which is what the performance bond would allow funds to do. It would really be to provide enough funds to, for lack of a better word, secure the property in a I'm not saying project completed state, but an acceptable state at that point. I don't think generally there would be a $40 million performance bond for a project posted. But that's something that we'll have to kick around, because the city wouldn't proceed with constructing a project if a developer decided not to proceed anymore. Say they got 20% of the way done, the city generally wouldn't go through and cash on to hit the performance bond and finish the project and just leave it as a finished project. It would be taken to a point of where the project could rest at that point. If we're talking about hitting a bond of that ilk, we're going to be going to court before that would even be able to happen.
I don't want to impose something on this developer that I don't recall us ever imposing on any other project developer, Mr. Hatt. That's my concern.
Yeah.
My recollection, I don't know of any other project with that substantial. I mean, a smaller, here and there for sure. And then the Plan Commission does have reasonable conditions, power to put on the project. I think that would be, if we required a $40 million performance bond, I think that would be subject to contested.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, so a lot of times in my past life, we would take a performance bond, and what it was to restore the property back to its original state. So I'll give you an example. I did this in Bloomfield Hills. Remember when they were building all the parking decks for that big project on Telegraph?
Yes.
So they got a bond so that they thought they had a bond to tear them down if he stopped at some point. So usually that's the way you do. You would have a performance bond. It's actually a percentage of the construction cost to tear it back down. And then as they proceed, the bond, the bond floats with the performance actually. So you're right. We wouldn't go in and try to build it because who would operate it? But it's to restore the property. So you can't just stop and leave it a big hole in the ground or steel up in the air. That's a legitimate bond for restoration. So, and then you work with the developer to come up with a bond, how much that would be, depending on how far he got, right?
I didn't vote to support this, and I didn't understand this at the time that we're going to require these people to put up a bond for the total cost estimate of the project. I don't think that's appropriate, and I don't think that's what any of us intended.
I don't know.
Mr. Chairman,
I think people should speak for themselves. I would
I'm
ask.
speaking for myself, Dean,
No.
and somebody else jumped in here, so just wait a minute. Who jumped in there?
If I may say something, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Yes.
With regard to performance bond, this is a special project, so it is not necessary for the Planning Commission or City Council to require a bond on every project. There is no requirement in the ordinance that says just because you didn't previously require it, you cannot require it on this. Different projects have different aspects, so requiring a performance bond is not out of the realm of reasonableness at all. That said, the way the motion is worded, by saying work in question, it typically implies all the work that was intended. I think that's what Mr. Hauser was intending. That was what I heard. So that said, what Attorney Kraft and Nick are saying, that bonds are typically a percentage of the total cost of construction. However, the applicant was present at the meeting and has been through many performance bonds before. I'm a little surprised when that motion was made. I expected them to very well interject and say something at that point, but they didn't. So I'm wondering if they understood the motion either.
I think we should leave the minutes as initially submitted and wait until the maker of the motion and the supporter are back to speak for themselves.
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
So, I voted on the motion with what it was, that they had to do the full bond. Now, I guess I'm a little disappointed in city administration. Where was all this conversation before we had the vote?
Not for us to say. You guys can do what you want. It's a special project.
Well, right, but you didn't bring up any of this stuff that we can't do this, or everybody knew about it and we voted, and now all of a sudden there's issues. So I don't understand that.
For me personally, I didn't hear a $40 million bond. I heard a performance bond, which is what I described. So, which is not unusual. But
Mr. Chair, if I may, there wasn't a lot of discussion on the amount or what that would necessarily cover at this meeting, but this project, we have actually talked about the performance bond and actually a couple of times, that it wouldn't be an amount or a decision that the city would move forward with building the project. So without, with a developer, if they're not moving forward, who's gonna own a finished product at the end after someone hits a performance bond to complete it? It really would be more of a bring it back to ground zero. But that's, that is up to, like Nick said, it's up to planning commission, and maybe the developer is fine with such a performance bond, but I don't know.
we certainly can reach out to him. If that's how he understood it and he didn't complain, great, then we should take that $40 million bond. It doesn't matter.
Mr. Chairman, well, the developer, we asked him, are you okay with that? And he goes, yes. So I don't know.
But nobody talked about an amount, and I don't recall any discussion where we said, what we're saying now is that somebody's going to estimate the total cost to build, and we're going to require them to give us a bond in that amount. And if I'm hearing the attorney, that's not how these bonds usually work, which is what I voted to support, that the bond would be an amount of money where we could demo a partially started project and get back to vacant land, not compel them to finish it, nor do we want the dollars to finish it. We didn't think, I know we truly discussed in 2 meetings, that's not our job, but as a city, to finish these projects. So
Right,
I just don't want this to be used as a cudgel, if you know what that term means, where this made it through the planning commission and now we're setting this up for failure at the city council on the basis of some very tight language that I don't think was discussed.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chair, as I said, you now have the mayor saying that was his understanding of the motion. That was my understanding of the motion, and even though I voted against it, I did speak with Mr. Hauser before this meeting, as I said, because I wanted to make sure that the correct wording was put in there. And his intent was that it was for the full amount. Now, it's unfortunate he's not here. So what I guess I would suggest is, why don't we table any motion on these minutes, bring them back when we have the folks who are here, like Commissioner Gasson and others, and maybe have this discussion again. And if need be, then we may have to have a revision to the site plan to put a motion that is more acceptable to the administration or people who are trying to put this project through. Because as I understand it, this was the intent of the motion, and people voted for it with that understanding, except for maybe 1 or 2. I don't know. But I'd like to hear from everyone and maybe have the discussion next meeting when people are here.
Is that a motion to table the consideration of these minutes?
Yes.
Is there support?
Support.
So it's been moved and supported that consideration of these minutes for the, let's see, August 3rd Planning Commission minutes are tabled till our next meeting. Roll call, please.
Gavakwa,
Yes.
Clark Martin.
Yes.
Oh, I don't have the right one. Stone.
Yes.
I'm missing people on here. McGee.
Yes, yes.
And who am I missing?
Sarah's here now.
Oh, Sarah. King.
Yes.
Am I missing one person? Oh,
The mayor.
Dixon. Dixon.
Here,
Excuse me.
yes.
I'm
Yes.
sorry. Okay.
Don't forget the mayor.
Yeah, no,
I've been forgotten before, you know.
I was
And that's a
going
good
on
suggestion.
the first one where Stone moved in and I got all confused. Okay.
So,
You're all
Mr. Chairman,
set,
that's a
Maureen?
good, that will work great because we're not planning on taking this to city council to the end of September. But we'll get this to you with an understanding from the developer at your September meeting, which we get this all cleaned up.
Preferably, if you hear something sooner, just please email us. I think we'd all like to stay in the loop on this thing.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
And I would appreciate some feedback from the developer, but regardless of what the developer feels at this point, it doesn't change the way the motion currently stood and was approved. So, you know, we have to consider that moving forward. There was a motion that was approved, and with a certain intent and understanding. And regardless of how the developer feels at this point, unless we make a revision to that motion, you know, I see it as it stands in writing.
And Mr. Chairman, I would agree with that, but because you have a different thought process than others, we want to make sure that he knows what the motion was, because what he's reading now, he read it, he would not maybe ascertain those. You're right, it doesn't matter what he thinks. He decides he doesn't want to move forward, that's his business, but
Yeah.
I'm not asking for his input, but we want to let him know that's the interpretation so that he's clear with that.
The maker of the motion, the maker of the motion, Christian Hauser, is a development attorney.
Right.
I would rather hear directly from him than through others about what he has to say. So we'll do that at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, number 5. This is consideration of amendments, revisions to the originally approved site plan for the facade improvements for BP gas station, 1000 West University. Nick or Vidya, who's going to handle this one?
I'm going to handle this one. So about, I'm going to say 6 weeks ago, I know Mr. Toma, the owner of the BP station's on the line. His architect, Joe Larotis, is on the line also. So I'm not going to steal their presentation, but what happened was about 6 weeks, Mr. Toma asked me to come out to the site. He had plans out there, and they were starting the stonework and the facade work at the top of the building. So it had been a while since he was approved, obviously, and COVID held up the development, but he was rolling pretty good. We went out there and looked, and he said, that canopy, which was, you remember, it's in your packet, the peak, and I'll let Joe go over that. It was a peak, an existing peak, and it was rotted wood, and the developer was up on his scaffolding on the lift saying, this is all rotted. So you either have to replace it, and at that time, it was like, well, it doesn't really match the building. And there was discussion at the planning commission meeting about the canopy and the cornice on the top. So Mr. Thomas said, what about taking it straight across and matching it up with the building the way I wanted to do it originally, but there was a peak. I said, well, that's a change to your site plan. You know, if you're going to do that, you have to go back to the planning commission. And there was some stone at that top. And he said, I will take that stone and then take the pillars all the way to the top, which he wasn't doing originally, due to cost. And then, so I said, well, again, you could go to the planning commission. We asked his architect to redraw it. And I think Joe did a good job showing what was approved, what they're doing now, and then hopefully that council agrees. If in fact, planning commission says, I want the peak back, you'd have to take down what he's got up there now and put the peak back up. So I'll leave it up to Mr. Tolman and the architect to explain the changes. They've got it in your pack.
Okay. Is the representative of the petitioner here?
Joe, you're on mute. Yep.
Got the mute. Yeah, I do this every day. You think I'd be better at the mute?
Good to see you again, and welcome back.
Good to see you. Thanks for having us this evening, virtually. These things are fun.
Yeah.
So we've been working with Mr. Toma on his gas station since you saw it last to get a development that is attractive and kind of up to today's speed and provides all the items that you would need at a gas station. I think Nick did a good job explaining kind of the process of what we went through. As we started construction, the condition of the existing building was much worse than any of us expected. And that kind of caused us to go down this path. As soon as we kind of saw these things forcing us to make some decisions that strayed us from the approved site plan, we immediately got a hold of Nick to make sure that we were following the correct path and doing what we were supposed to be doing with presenting this back to you guys. Make sure you were comfortable with the way the design headed. So we put together a series of images. I don't know if you guys all have the package in front of you, but
You can share your screen,
So do
Joe.
you
That'd be
wanna
great.
Go ahead and share your screen, or do you want me to pull it up?
let me see if I can share my screen. All right, give me 1 second here to get this going.
If you can't get it, Sienna can pull it up.
Yeah.
Make sure the drawings up.
I can pull it up if you would rather me do that, Joe. Okay.
Yeah, it won't let me pull up my thing. Apologize about that. Okay, I'm gonna go.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. We start at that page. So, in the package, we provided the images that we used in the original approval, and some images of what the design ended up being, kind of due to the structural issues we ran into. So, in doing this, we took the gable part out and replaced it with a squared off architectural feature that ties more into the signage block, I'll call it, for lack of a better definition, where formerly it was Buscemi's and now it says liquor, pizza, and subs. But allowing those two kind of entities to play off of each other, similar forms, similar detailing, but accentuates the entrance of the building. The stone pillars on each side tie back into the stone on the gas station or the gas pump canopy. So we're trying to tie all these elements together to create this kind of cohesive, building on a prominent corner in town. We can go to the next page. And we went view for view and tried to match up the best we could with what was approved and what we were proposing as the alternative. You can see we kept a lot of the elements the same, and just it's that main entry portal that the two of the structural regions we had.
Joe, do you want to maybe explain a little? This is Blaine, the city manager. Explain the reason, like there was rot in the wood, and there, just so that the planning commission kind of has a little better understanding.
Yes. So when we removed the finish material that was currently on the gable and to each side of that front entry glazing, the substructure was gone. It was rotted. It was structurally compromised, and it all needed to be replaced. There was no possibility of saving any of it. Definitely not an option. As before in the approved image, you see the gable is covered with the stone. There was no way we could get the stone to stay up there, to be supported up there without reconstructing massive amounts of the building. That's one of the reasons why on the new image you see that it's that wood siding. It's a painted hardy board product made to look like stained cedar.
What
It's
does
all
the back of that look like?
the back of it is, I believe it's a painted black panel, party panel.
Mm-hmm.
So it blends in with the roof.
I went out there today and looked at it. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman, I just have a couple of questions for Joe.
Go ahead, Vinny.
Sienna, could you please go back to the previous elevations which showed the other end of the building? Yes, this one. Joe, if you see the approved elevations had that the sign portion wrap around significantly more than what you're proposing. Is it still the intent to wrap around as much? Because I know Commissioner Gasson had brought that up when we had reviewed this. It seems to not wrap around as much as on the approved elevation. Is that something you could do so that it doesn't look like a faux wall? Like if you look at your previously approved, it sort of wrapped around a little bit to the side, so it looked more attractive. So can you do the wraparound on this side again?
Yes. And we do, if you look at if you go to the colored elevations, which are page 31 and 30, so this is the site plan approved elevations. And you see the thickness of that wall as it wraps around. If you go to the next page, we did keep the same thickness of that element.
Same.
So it does wrap around a little bit. I think it's 2 or 3 feet.
So this new entrance that you're putting above, previously it was a gable, and the gable sort of seemed to tie into the roof of the existing building. But the new one that you're proposing, while attractive, it just seems a little excessively high for a full entrance because it's very obvious there's blank space behind it. Mm-hmm. Is there any way this could be slightly lowered in height so that it's not sort of, from a side angle, it looks like it's standing by itself?
So the height of this is based off the peak of the gable. It is 8 inches taller than the gable, and that's simply to allow the correct flashing on the top of this structure to make it watertight at the top of the gable. So if we were to lower it any, the existing gable would show. So it's 8 inches taller than the existing gable, and that's purely for constructability. So
I think the difference is the original elevation that you proposed with the coach style lights was still a very traditional kind of design. This is much more modern and contemporary. So I think that's where the difference comes in. But I can understand it structurally. It's just that from a side elevation, the front portion just looks like, it's got too much of blank space behind it. So I was wondering if there's some way to make it blend into the existing building more than sort of seem like something that's just attached to the front. So that's where I was going with that.
Okay, I understand.
I had sort of a similar reaction. It's kind of a thin wall standing up there, and if it had a little more mass or depth to it, possibly.
Sierra, could you go back to the approved and the proposed previous?
May I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Okay. So it looks like from the slide that we just switched from, we don't have to go back to it unless you need to, but it looks like the roof is actually coming in when we're looking at the elevation coming into the front facade. But then when we're looking at this view, and I don't know if this is how accurate this is, it just looks like it's standing up and then the roof is coming up from the back. So how is it attached to the roof there?
So the gable portion of the roof still exists. And this angle is perfectly set up that you can't see that gable at all.
Okay.
I think
So the gable still exists.
gable's still there, right?
Okay, okay. So that facade, that gable's actually coming into the facade.
Right.
Okay, okay. Because that's what it looked like from the elevation. But when you're looking
I
at
think
the view, you can't see the gable.
Yeah. I think it's just the way we set the views up,
Mhm.
kind of hid that gable from every single view. So yeah, it's definitely
Gable's
hard
gonna
to.
be rebuilt then?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Gable is gonna be rebuilt, the rotted portion of the structure?
Correct. The rotted roof sections are rebuilt.
Anyone else?
Is Buscemi's no longer a tenant?
I can let Fred answer that one.
Yeah, hi there. You guys can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So we've always been the operator of the Buscemi's franchise, and that does still exist. We're at this point we're a little bit undecided whether that franchise is going to stay or not.
If it stays, the name Buscemi's would go above the liquor.
I believe that if it stays, it would look like the rendering at the top,
Which is
basically Buscemi's, and then the stuff underneath, which would say the pizza.
Beer, wine.
Yeah, I can't remember what the language was, but I think it would essentially read pizza, liquor, and
Beer, wine, liquor.
or liquor, pizza, and subs.
Okay.
so I have a comment in regard to this sign. Given that it is such a prominent corner in Rochester, does the liquor have to be so large?
I agree. We're trying to promote a family-friendly city.
Right. It says liquor.
Yes.
Perhaps we could down.
More look like the one up above.
Yeah.
I agree with that as well.
Yeah, I think Fred and Nick and we can all work together to make the signage more like the approved image as opposed to the proposed images.
Yes.
Just for the record, Planning Commission doesn't have control over signage, but I hear you and I agree with
Oh,
you.
Know
sorry.
that, but
I agree with you. I'm just telling you,
opportunity
we got to make sure we do it right. But I
Okay.
agree. I agree with
I
the perspective of it. Right?
Yeah.
You get so many square feet.
The font is nice.
On the top one, it's very nice.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Well, can I ask a question? Who controls the signs then? The administration?
Yep.
Okay.
And I don't have any control over that either. Technically, Attorney Crock can weigh in. Content neutral. You can't design signs by federal law. We calculate the size, but we obviously work with the sign folks to try to make it blend with the building. And I agree 100%. That top font is beautiful, much nicer
Nick,
than that one.
let your schmoozer.
One more question. The gas canopy, are we changing the undersiding of it? One rendering on the proposed facade improvement, I don't know what page it is, shows it to sort of be a wood finish. And then the approved facade improvement above it shows it to be a regular metal panel painted white. Which is it? Yeah, there you go, that page.
So the
bottom shows a wood finish, stained similar to your proposed siding treatment of the walls, and then the top one is obviously not.
Yeah, so the original site plan approval, we had stone wrapping the columns of the canopy up to, I think it was 10 feet or something. And now what we're proposing is to take the stone all the way up 14 feet, 4 inches to the bottom of the canopy, so that it's one continuous stone column as opposed to a stone column with another column sticking out of it. I think.
Is the
So the
rendering at the
proposed
bottom?
elevation, Joe, doesn't really show that, does it? Because the
He's
proposed
got it,
elevation
yeah.
doesn't look like it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go
if you
up
go
there.
to
The last page has it on there.
Yeah, page 27.
Keep going.
You go back to 27. I think it's the
Right there.
yeah. So that shows what we are proposing to take the stone to encapsulate the existing column completely in stone, as
Okay.
opposed to stopping it at 10 feet.
The note on this drawing says existing canopy to remain as is, includes the underside, which in that other page, again, I apologize, I don't know the page number, they're not labeled, shows a wood finish that matches your siding. Which is it?
The underside of the canopy will remain as is. I see what you're saying in the pictures. It does look like it's a lap siding material underneath there, but that's an existing photograph of the canopy. That's just the current metal underneath there. I think it's the shadows and.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, the question is, did you ever plan on doing anything other than, even on the approved plans, that was
No.
other than the white lap siding that was there? My understanding was you weren't touching the canopies.
We were not touched. Yeah, we're never
That's what I think,
never
Mr. Stone.
proposing to do anything with the canopy.
No change from the approved plan.
Correct.
Matt, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, go ahead. Mr. Architect, the floor is still yours.
Oh, so well, I think we've gone through what the cause of the revision, what our hopes for the revision is. I'll let Fred. Is there any comments you'd like to make?
No, not really, but I do encourage everyone, and obviously I'm sure, a lot of you guys drive by the corner. I totally encourage everyone just to maybe stop by and take a look at what we've done. I think it's very pleasing to see that corner go through a transformation from where it was to what it looks like now. I mean, we get compliments throughout the day. I mean, people are just loving how it's just tying in. The columns are tying into the building, and it's a good feel to be on that corner. So I really encourage you guys to maybe stop by and and see it in person. I think it serves a lot more than the rendering does.
Any other questions for the petitioner?
Yeah, yes, I just had one question. So I did drive by there and kind of took a peek while I was driving. Is the stone's already to the top of the columns, isn't it?
The stone's all done. It goes 14. You're referring to the canopy?
Yeah.
Yeah, the stones has already gone to the very top of. You're not able to see any of the columns anymore. It's all stone.
Yeah. Well, it's good that we're probably going to approve this then.
So Fred, and I was waiting, that's a very good observation. So when we met out there, it was at your own risk. You
Yes, it
continue
was.
on because he had his construction crews out there. If the planning commission said, rip it down to 10 feet, put up the canopy, he'd have to do that. And he took that risk on his own.
Okay.
Nick did mention that at the site. So
Thanks.
So, Nick, what do we need to do here tonight?
It would be a motion to approve the revised elevation of the previously approved plan.
So moved.
Okay, been moved. Is there support?
Support.
Been moved and supported by Patricia. Any other discussion or question? The roll call, please.
Bavacqua,
Yes.
Clark Martin,
Yes.
Dixon,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
Stone.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Fred. We appreciate you keeping the business up, keeping the look of the corner up, and wish you the best finishing it up.
thanks to
We will
everyone for
work,
your
we'll
support.
work together on the signage to go throughout that you all like, which I agree with. It's That font is very handsome, and we can certainly, Fred's been great to work with, so sure. I'm glad he's not putting the Buscemi sign up and then taking it down. If they're not going to keep Buscemi's, then let's get it right.
Yeah.
Thanks to everyone.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 6, miscellaneous. Commissioners. No miscellaneous. I'm going to throw something in at this point. After the last meeting, which was long and challenging, I got a call from a commissioner who felt that at one point I had talked over them or run over them when they were talking to one of the consultants, the traffic engineer. In this particular case, I did go back with Sienna's help and review the tape of that, whatever was proposed there. And while I didn't intend to do that, if it was perceived by that commissioner that I had done that, I apologize. I won't use the excuse of virtuality, but it's obviously challenging for all of us not to be able to see body language or faces or sides. And so those things sort of happen. But if there are any other problems with how people believe these meetings are conducted by me, I appreciate you letting me know. Okay, Sienna, any other public comment? Number 7.
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, maybe Mr. Wayne, you want to talk about a little bit, we've got our planning consultants, what happened with that, and then what happened at City Council with the traffic folks.
Okay, number 8, you guys have the floor.
I guess, or underneath miscellaneous, if you will. So we brought the proposals and the 2 finalists for the master plan, and Beckett and Rader was selected, and staff is working with them already. We're getting a list of the items that they would like from us, and then we'll be meeting with them here shortly. As for the
Blaine, could you would you take an opportunity to bring them to meet us? I think it's important we meet them early on. Sure. We're a key part of their business here, and I think it's important for them to get to know us and hear a little bit about them.
All right. Yeah, happy to. As for the traffic analysis, again, staff recommended 2 finalists and brought that information before council. However, due to the overall cost of, quite honestly, both vendors, staff recommended not moving forward and having vendors or the developers actually continue to bring their traffic analysis. And that was affirmed by City Council. So there was not a expenditure of $65,000 plus to choose either one of the 2 traffic analysis.
Would it be possible, such as the riverfront, would it be possible on a, I guess, project by project basis to take such as the traffic study that was given to us by the developer and at least pay an outsider to get a third look, validity, et cetera? I think that might add some heft to what they're reporting, so that you wouldn't retain them for every project, but something like that where there's a lot of impact would be somebody that could review their work product and tell the city what they think.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Vidya might want to weigh in here, but McKenna has, they were one of the 2 finalists, and they have traffic engineering. Part of her review is to review that information for free. We don't have to pay extra. That is part of their hourly rate, but they, correct me if I'm wrong, Vidya, you guys have your traffic engineers look at what was submitted by the developer as part of your overall review. You're on mute. You're on mute, Vidya.
Sorry, yes, that is correct, Nick. Whenever a plan is submitted with the traffic report, I do go through the whole thing and I do discuss the traffic report with the traffic specialist at McKenna. We do have a traffic specialist at McKenna. So we go over the data and discuss whether the parameters that are used are reasonable.
Okay.
And quite often our traffic person is familiar with some of the consultants who work in this over here. So as long as stuff is not really out there for professional analysis.
Thank you. I didn't know that, and it's good to know. Thank you. Blaine, back to you.
Yeah, and I guess I would just to wrap that up is maybe with Vidya's report, we can add a little bit more information if it's a sentence or two to just note that McKenna's traffic experts have reviewed it and that they've acknowledged the same state approved formulas and all those sort of things are you know are appropriate and are used correctly. Other than those two things, which again in the master plan, we're wanting to get started as soon as possible, and then just wanted to provide an update that council chose not to spend that additional dollars on the traffic component. That's all I have.
Wise decisions. Yep. Anything else from the administration?
No, sir.
Okay. Before we get to Sienna, well, I'll ask Sienna, any other public comment come in during the meeting?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Well, number 8 is yours.
Okay, so the upcoming agenda items for September 8th are the public hearing for the City Hall entry vestibule, in addition to the public hearing for the multifamily project at 1205 North Main. The gateway has not come forward. They may, however, I'm not certain that it would be on that meeting date on the 8th, but we do have Pfizer coming in to put in I can't remember, Nick, I'll defer to you.
So water, they purify water there in their products, and they have 2 old well systems, and they're going to build a new 100 square feet, I believe, but it's a really high-tech room. So we met with the Pfizer folks Monday with our whole staff, engineering, fire, DPW, to work it out. The good news is for Vidya, no encroachment into the wetlands, very little engineering needed. So it just should be pretty good. It's for that temporary office building was off the street. They submitted their plans and they're going to upgrade their facility where they make penicillin.
Would this device be placed in the back of the building, or is it going to be usable for Parkdale?
Yeah, it's off of a driveway, so they're going to revamp the driveway a little bit, and so it's to the east of the building. The former approved plan for the loading zone revamping, they never built that. They never pulled the trigger on that. It's still on the books, but not at this time, they told us. So that was in the south end. This is more on the east end.
Very good. Glad to see their continued investment in that facility.
We are very happy about that.
Yes.
Yeah, so that is all that will be on the 8th at this time.
So September 8th is our next meeting.
Day after Labor Day, yes.
Different day of the week.
Okay, any other business for the commission tonight? With that, this meeting stands adjourned. Thank you.
Night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Good night.
Good night, everyone.